Hi everyone, welcome back to Total War Therapy, and today here we are with the ultimate tier list of every cavalry unit in Total War Warhammer 3. So don't forget to subscribe, let's keep in touch because I have so many things to announce to you in the next videos, and let's begin. Hi, I'm Alberto, I'm a real person, and here you will find the beginner's guide, the battle unit roster, tier list, ranking, and many shorts. So if you wanna support the channel, please consider to subscribe. Now let's address the Beastmen. The Beastmen got the Centaurs. The Melee Cavalry in this case are just two, and with a missile version that we'll probably talk about in another video because it's not that good in Melee. The Centaurs are definitely some underrated cavalry in my opinion, probably because you don't expect in the Beastmen roster to have any worthy cavalry, but you can believe me, there are a couple of abilities that make them quite unique and powerful. Let's start with the generic version. That is the one with the shield. The shield is just bronze, so it will protect the Centaurs from the 30% of the bullets, of the arrows, and so on. The armor is not that great. They have a very good speed. I mean, you probably would not expect it, but and this speed can be improved when they have a high leadership, and they have even the perfect vigor when the leadership is high. And as you know, the perfect vigor is a very powerful attribute. You can see my last video on the subject, because they will never get tired. For a cavalry that is supposed to move around all the time, this is a very huge advantage. In this case, I will put them into the B tier because they're still not exceptional. The armor is very bad, and the weapon strength is not ammo piercing. But definitely the version with the great weapons that is anti-large and ammo piercing, for me is definitely between the routine, the rush, and the A tier. For now, we will put them into the A tier, but it's subject to change. And it's very great because as I told you, there is the perfect vigor and an increased speed and immunity to psychology when they have high leadership, and in this way they compensate the weak armor with a lot of opportunities to make your tactics. They have the woodsman attribute too, so they are large entities that they can move freely around the forest. That is great. So for me, they are both very powerful cavalry. Let's begin with the Bretonnia, that it will be probably a very long one. The first unit is the mounted yeomen. That I mean, I have not something that good to say about them. They are quite forgettable. You just use them before unlocking the other cavalry in Bretonnia that are many. That's why I think he will recruit them for a very short period of time in the early game of your campaign, and then you will pass to all the other that I have to make some order because they are really a lot. But first we have the Knight Errant that are just superior, except the speed, of course. They have the immunity to psychology. They are knights, so they are not we can say expendable like the peasants, so like the mounted yeomen. And they have the ability to make the lance formation where they build a triangle. They will have increased mass and charge bonus, but they will reduce a little of melee defense. That is great for for a shock cavalry like that. In any case, they are, as I said, the direct upgrade of the yeomen, and they are useful in many situations. I think even in the mid to late game, they need, of course, a little of babysitting, but they definitely do their job. Then we get the Knights of the Realm, that I think it's them. They basically have this is the Questing Knight. Okay, let's say the Questing Knight first. They have a little less armor than the other Knights Errant and so on, because they've just 90. They have improved melee attack and melee defense. They have these big swords great swords that have the armor piercing damage that for a cavalry is not, you cannot take it for granted. They can still do the lance formation, they are immune to psychology, so for me very great, and honestly they are quite powerful even in the late campaign, and that's why, and they are very armored still, and that's why I want to put them into the A tier. And in this case I probably should put the Centaurs with great weapons in this. No, okay, they can still be in the same part. Now, where are all the other of Bretonnia? Okay, here we have the Royal Pegasus. Here I don't know why every time I use this this site is always make confusion. In any case, oh, these are, I think, yeah, this is the Knights of the Realm that are the direct improvement to the Knight Errants, that of course are more expensive, but not that much actually, and they have improved the armor, leadership, melee attack, weapon strength, and charge bonus. In this case they don't reduce the speed, that's why probably, and for their price that can be you know, affordable in the late campaign, when of course you have plenty of resources, but I don't know if it's you know, a great idea to take a lot of Grail Guardians that are far more expensive than that. They lose the immunity to psychology, that is a disbenefit, but they get the anti-large bonus, so very great against other cavalry. Now we get after the Questing Knight, the Grail. Okay, no, let's start with the Pegasus Knight. In this case, this is a flying cavalry. I assume is that and not the other, but at the end they do the same. That's not such a big difference. The Royal Pegasus Knight have just the magical attack and the perfect vigor compared to the other version, and then another, even the immunity to psychology, sorry, and another ability that increase the resistance. So I think even them we can put them in the Royal I would put here, and the normal one here. In this case, because who are they? In this case, because they are flying, but the armor is not that great. They have the shield that can help a lot. They are few entities compared to other cavalries in the game, and they are exceptionally fast, but they can be counter attacked by anti-large units, and they can be hit very hard, because even if they have the anti-large bonus, their defense is not that great, and yeah, against a unit of spearmen or a giant monster anti-large, they will not do a very good job. Then I haven't played Bretonnia that much to bet you know, all my money on that, but I remember very clearly that they work like that in this case. Now we can address the Grail Guardian and the Grail Knight that we have here. The Grail Knight, I think the main difference is that the Guardians are the less shock cavalry, but they have better melee defense and melee attack, while the Grail Knights, they sacrifice melee defense, melee attack, a little of leadership to get an extra charge bonus. Both of these units have magical attack and the lance formation, the immunity to psychology, the perfect vigor, and the damage resistance when they are not broken with the leadership. Of course, it's a top tier unit. Both of them have just to find the second in this very huge list. In any case, they are very strong, and even if they are expensive, you can take a lot for. Okay, it's here. Okay, let's put both there. And then we have at the end of this Bretonnia part, the Royal Hippogriff Knights, that are basically these very few entities, just 12. There is the version of the High Elves that have even less, just 4. In any case, this is the most expensive cavalry in the game. That's why I don't feel to put it into the in top tier, because they're too expensive. And yes, they are flying, right, but they sacrifice a little of armor compared to all the other cavalry of Bretonnia. They have the magical attack, perfect vigor, and they don't have the immunity to psychology, but I mean, who cares? They are monsters themselves, and they cause fear. No, they cause fear and terror, so they get I mean, the immunity to psychology by default. And then yeah, overall they are very great, but yeah, damnly expensive. And if you need some you know, fire air fleet, air power, probably it's better the Pegasus, because there are more entities and they can deal better with the Harpies, Furies, even with the Thunderbirds. I mean, at least the last time I tried. That's why I will put them into the B tier. Now it's time for the Chaos Dwarfs that, believe it or not, they have access to some cavalry units. Let's start with the Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders with the spears, because there is another version with bows, and then a regiment of Renauds. Now, as you know, the Hobgoblins units in the Chaos Dwarfs campaign, they don't have the unit caps, so you can recruit as many as you want, and this is a huge advantage in the campaign, because you can use them as a filler, you know, to counterattack artillery unit, missile unit, just to sneak around, and they are quite expendable. Not only for their stats that I mean, no, I think they are not expendable actually, but they definitely you know, I mean, you can sacrifice a couple of them. They are not very expensive, and then you can just recruit another one. They are shielded. They lack a little of armor. They have a very nice speed, and they have a bonus when they attack the flanks, because they are cowards. Reportedly, the charge is not that big, and of course, you know, you cannot expect great stuff from the weapon strength. In any case, they are not that bad. I mean, you can recruit them in many situations, and as I said, you can use them as fillers when you don't have enough money to recruit the Bull Centaur renders. Now let's address the Bull Centaur renders that I mean, let's be honest, they are very nice units, and it was so good to have the first glimpse of them into the trailer of the Chaos Dwarfs. And yeah, there are three versions: the version with the great weapons, the version with the shield, and the version with the dual weapon, dual axes. Let's start with the generic version. They don't have a lot of armor. The speed is very low. They are quite slow because I mean, they are big. They are not that many. The unit count 16 entities. The melee defense is very high. I mean, I'm talking about the one with the shield, of course, and with the shields they can protect from missile attack. The weapon strength is more than 100. Armor piercing, that as I said, it's I mean, it's not that common in the cavalry units, and the charge bonus is not that great actually. They have some missile resistance, some fire resistance, and they cause fear. I don't remember if even terror. In any case, these are great, especially if you want to attack you know, enemy formation with the missile infantry. The shields can be very helpful, and that's why I will put them into the B tier. That, I mean, is still very good. Probably I have to, no, you know, for the price, I think that everything is good for now. Then there is the version with the dual weapon that in very short, they I mean, all the stats are almost the same, but they lose the no, sorry, they don't lose the armor piercing damage, but they get the anti-infantry bonus. Just that. Okay, nothing. And they lose the shield. I wanted to say that. And yeah, overall they have a little more of attack and a little less of defense, but they're very great at charging enemies. They are very good against heavy infantry. So in the late game, you may need them. That's why I will put them into the A tier. And then we have the rush level Bull Centaur renders, that are the one with the great weapons, because they will get, I mean, compared to the generic version, it's a little the same. They just have some melee defense and melee attack reduced, and a little of charge bonus, but they get the anti-large bonus. That is always great. I mean, these are the monster hunters of the Chaos Dwarfs that, believe me, they have a lot of missile power, but if there is a huge monster attacking you, probably they are the best and the only option. So I will put them into the rush category. Now let's talk about the Dark Elves, and let's start with the Dark Riders. That is the most basic cavalry units in the Dark Elves roster. As I mean, these kind of units I prefer to put them into the C tier because they are not useless at all like the yeomen. You can take advantage of them in some situation in the very early campaign when you don't have access to stronger cavalry, but you have to take into consideration that I mean, they are very weak. They have almost no armor. Of course, they have the shield. The weapon strength is almost useless. The melee defense, I mean, there is the version without shield and the one with shield that they get more melee defense. The speed is nice, but yeah, they don't excel, we can say. Then there are the Cold One Knights that are basically the Dark Elves on the Cold Ones, that are the Velociraptors, to be clear with the new players, the dinosaurs, and they get, compared to the to the Dark Riders, so to the Horsemen, more armor. The shield, they keep the shield in this case. They will get more leadership, but the speed will be reduced. They will be quite slow, even if, I mean, from the Velociraptor I would expect them to be faster, but they're probably with more armored, more heavy armored soldiers on them. That's why they are slower, and they get more melee attack, weapon strength, and charge bonus, and of course in this case the anti-large bonus and the armor piercing damage. That is very, very important. They have this primal instinct, so if other units they get more bonus when they have a high leadership, they will get more bonuses when they have a low leadership, okay, because they are feral, they are dinosaurs. I love them. Okay, they are not that expensive, and from the mid to late campaign they can help you a lot against the monsters and to counterattack other cavalry of the enemy. You will have a lot of fun. They are very good. I mean, for that price and everything, they deserve to be in the Ratch, so in the S tier of this video. Then we get the Cold One Dread Knights, that is the improved version of them. They sacrifice a little of charge, but all the other attributes are improved, but they lose the anti-large bonus. Now, these knights are very, very sturdy, are very, very armored, so very hard to take down, but they are very, very expensive, and with their slowness and so on, it's not a unit that I recruit that much. I mean, I think it's not worthy. Of course, they are harder to take down, as I said, but there are for the single roles or of what you may need them for, there are better options. So just in the B tier to say they are good, but there are probably better things, better units in the Dark Elves roster. And then we get the Doomfire Warlocks. That is a very weird cavalry, probably the weirdest here, and it's huge. Now, they are basically these wizards on horse. They have no armor, no shields. They don't have, I mean, no, probably they have a little of physical resistance, but very little, if I remember. So yeah, don't expect that much. They are very, very weak, and if they suffer a rain of arrows of fire, or they get attacked by any other units, they may suffer a lot, but they have a good speed, the poison effect, the magical effect, the weapon strength is not, it's quite huge actually, even if they are not armor piercing, because they are supposed to be more magic. Then they have the frenzy and a couple of spells, one offensive that they throw these magical missiles, we can say, and another that is passive, is if I remember correctly, a debuff of the enemy. Now, they're weird, they are very, very weak, they are very vulnerable to missile units. They require a little of management because they have these abilities that you're paying for. They're a support cavalry, you cannot just rely on them by themselves. That's why I think they are more into the C tier. Funny to use, but I would not suggest, for example, for a new player. Now it's time to cross the lands of the Emperor. So let's start with the Empire Knights. The Empire Knights, that they're not that different from the Riksguard, but it's something that we will talk in 1 minute, are the basic cavalry of the Empire. Actually, they are not bad because they are very, very armored. The speed, it's a little in the middle because it's around 80, so they're not so fast, you know, to circle around the enemy with no problem, but they're definitely not slow. The melee attack and melee defense, weapon strength are quite little. The charge bonus is nothing exceptionally or worthy to mention, and they have no additional abilities or attributes, so you know they are definitely easy to recruit, so you may you may need them in the early campaign, but after that they're just I mean, I don't see the point in recruiting them, even because there is the Riksguard, that is the improved version with that are the same model, and this is something that I would like to see fixed. Because, I mean, why you're making I mean, we always complain about, you know, weapon variants, reskin. In this case, you gave another name to a unit that is the exact same aesthetics. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just wrong. You can tell me in the comments. Is the improved version from the armor to the leadership, melee attack, melee defense, weapon strength, and the charge bonus. Still no other attribute. They are better, that's why I think we can put them here, and I mean, as a basic cavalry for your army, they are definitely great. Then there are the Knights of the Blazing Sun, that are a unit that are actually a little underrated by the community. I mean, I remember the last time that I mentioned them, and many people say that they dislike them. But if you consider they still have a lot of armor, even if a little less than the Riksguard, they have the flaming attack that, I mean, is more for the aesthetics. You know what I think about that. They have better melee attack, but lesser defense. The weapon strength is bigger. Not judge bonus, not armor piercing, unfortunately, but they get more charge bonus and some, I think it was spell resistance, not physical. And yeah, for me they are great. If you want a charging cavalry, they are definitely better than the Riksguard. And yeah, they're very good at their job, and I would suggest you to recruit them more. Before, back in Total War Warhammer 2, you need to get a specific settlement, a specific capital to get access to them. But now you can just recruit them with any build, I mean, with any settlements. So yeah, very, very nice. And then we get the Knights of the Black Rose. Now, I want to tell you something. You remember, I mean, I want to ask you something. You remember that at the beginning of, I mean, at the release of Thrones of Decay, they got the immunity to contact effects, because apparently now they removed it. I did remember, I mean, I missed that. I don't know in which patch they removed this, but I don't get why. Probably you can get it in some way with the technology, with something, but I mean, I have no idea. I mean, it was such a nice ability, and there were some of the very few units to get access to that. In any case, they are the not shock cavalry. They are very good. They have a very huge melee defense that is 50. That is like, I mean, they're like dwarfs. I don't understand this. They have, you know, plenty of armor and a nice speed, a nice melee attack, weapon strength with anti-infantry damage, so very good for infantry. And even in this case, I feel to put them into the A category, because yeah, they fit the Empire very, very well, and they can be helpful in many situations, and they have the immunity to psychology, at least. Then we get the Demigryph Knights. There is the version with the shield and you know, the lance. That is better at charging, we can say. They get plenty of armor. Of course, they are a little slower, but not that much. They're still fast, or I mean, this as fast as the other cavalry of the Empire. And yeah, good melee attack, melee defense, weapon strength in this case, armor piercing. They are not that few entities, so I mean, they're enough to, you know, make the difference. And yeah, I like them, but they are very, very expensive and hard to recruit. You have to wait to the very, very late campaign, so I'm not sure. I think the B tier is more than enough for them, even because, I mean, if you want to charge an enemy, you have the, as I said, the Knights of the Blazing Sun, and if you want to attack other cavalry, you have definitely the Demigryph with the halberds, that, as I said, that they have all the stats, I mean, not all the melee defense, melee attack, weapon strength and charge bonus reduced, but they get the anti-large bonus that, I mean, the monster hunters, they deserve the place in the rush tier, because they will always, I mean, you will always need some monster hunters in your army, especially in the late campaign, and they are very, very good option. They can destroy cavalry, monsters, beasts, and so on. That's why they deserve to be here. Now we are in the wonderful lands of Grand Cathay, and let's start with the peasants, horsemen, that okay, they are here. Okay, even in this case they are very, very weak cavalry that in my opinion they are not worthy to recruit, even because the Grand Cathay is quite defensive. They have a lot of artillery, missile units, and you know, some other option. So I really not, I don't think they are worthy. You can just you can start to recruit the cavalry when you get access to the Jade Lancers. Otherwise, I mean, you can skip them. They are a young unit with, I mean, the only good thing is that they are expandable with the Vanguard deployment, but they are very, very weak. And I mean, definitely, they're not, I mean, they're just peasants. They are not made to go to war. Then there are the Jade Lancers that, in comparison, they have reduced speed, but everything better, or I mean, they have 85% more of armor. They get the shield, more, I mean, an actual good leadership. The melee defense, melee attack and weapon strength are still not that huge, but they get a little of charge bonus, you know, if they have to attack to flank and charge some missile infantry and so on. That's why I would definitely put them into the B tier, because I would still prefer the defensive way to play Grand Cathay, so yeah, but they're still quite necessary. That's why the B tier is correct. And then we get the Great Long Riders that, compared to the Jade Lancers, they have more armor, more speed, a lot more of speed because they are flying. The melee attack and melee defense are not that different, but the weapon strength is more than the double, probably, with more charge bonus, no armor piercing damage, unfortunately. But since they are flying and you know, they are very good, they are very versatile, they definitely deserve a good place here. And for the late game, you know, there may be some enemies that can be both missile infantry from the enemy and some other cavalry of flying units, so be very, very careful. I mean, they are not the strongest unit in the air, in the sky, so yeah, probably they are still a B tier, considering that you have to spend more. Now it's time of the Greenskin, and the first unit are the Goblin Wolf Riders, that actually are quite different from the Hobgoblins Wolf Riders. In this case, yeah, they are very terrible. They have no armor, they have the shield at least, a good speed, melee attack and melee defense are some of the lowest in this video. The charge bonus is almost inexisting, and the weapon strength neither. They're expandable, and with the Vanguard deployment at least. I mean, you know, the Greenskins have other, can I say, fast options to, you know, circle around the enemy and so on. That's why I don't know if they are great. I mean, they are in a huge number. I have to admit that may be great when, you know, you want to attack in mass some missile infantry. That's why maybe I can put them into the C tier. Then we get the Forest Goblin Spider Riders, that are the version with the spiders, that are very funny to watch, a little less effective in the battlefield. They have the Strider attribute, so they can move around the map with no penalties, a little more of armor compared to the Wolf Riders, and of course the speed is reduced because, I mean, they're spiders. And the melee defense and melee attack are still very, very low. The charge, I mean, probably the melee defense a little more with the poison effect. At least they, I mean, as a support cavalry they may be great, but honestly I never recruit them. I mean, only when I want to boost the spiders, like with the Snagla in after the last Greenskins DLC. But otherwise, I think just, I mean, they're funny to watch, but not to use at all. And even if on the card they may have some benefits, I still don't see them worthy in the battlefield. Then we get the Night Goblin Squig Hoppers. They're actually, if you are building a only Goblin army, and I did it with the why I forget the name? Why I always forget the name of Skarsnik? That it's a very nice campaign because you are forced to recruit only goblins. And in the first phase of the campaign, and when you build a only goblin army, as I was saying, they are great. They are not, I mean, there are 60 entities still, but not as many as the Wolf Riders. They don't have a lot of armor, they don't have shields, so you don't have, you know, to keep them in an unsafe location. The speed is great. It's 82, that is more than the Empire Cavalry, as an example. Melee attack and melee defense are not high, but they have the poison effect. And then the weapon strength is armor piercing and anti-infantry, with a good charge bonus. In this case, they are immune to psychology, and they can get some benefits if they have in the army the Night Goblin that can boost their attributes. And for me, they're great. I mean, for me, they definitely deserve the A tier. At least they are weak in some occasion, but if you use them as a support unit, oh my god, they deal a lot of damage, especially to heavy infantry that in the mid game you may find it difficult to address if you don't have the right unit, and if you have a goblin units that they're a little less strong than the orcs. And then we get the Orc Boar Boys that now will make probably a little of confusion about who they are. I think it's them, that they are orc with the shield. Compared to the hobgoblins, they are slower. The melee attack and melee defense are still not that great, but at least they get the armor piercing damage that is great with a little more of charge bonus. They have a decent armor. In this case, I would suggest you to recruit them. They can go to the B tier because, I mean, they're not that strong, but still worthy into the battlefield. There is the savage version that sacrifices the armor to get more. I think it's this. No, maybe this. They don't have the shield. The sacrifice a little, as I say, of armor, but they get some physical resistance, and they get the frenzy. Now you can decide if the army that you are fighting with, it's I mean, if it's better the generic version of the savage one. In any case, I will put them in the same tier because I think it depends more if you are playing with the Wurzang or if all the other Greenskins, Legendary Lord. So quite the same to me. Then we have the Orc Boar Boys Big Wounds that are basically the anti-large version. Even in this case, very great. I don't think they are at the same level of the Ratch thing because they are still, I mean, with all the other monster hunters, because they're still a little weak. They have more armored, and of course they are better against the cavalry. But yeah, honestly, I mean, you have other options with orcs, but we can say we can put them here. I mean, just to be kind to them. And then there is the Savage Orc version that, I mean, is the same with the better attribute, but less armor, and with the frenzy and physical resistance. And even in this case, we can put them into the A tier. As I said, not because they are great for me, but because, I mean, to do that job, a fast anti-large cavalry, anti-cavalry cavalry, they are great. I have to admit that. Now let's move to Ultuan, because it's time for the High Elves. I'm so excited about the coming DLC. I've waited for a High Elves DLC so long, and we're getting so many units, the Mervim, the Sea Elemental, the Lothern Skycutters, everything lovely. No one may say in this case that the Creative Assembly misses something, even because we're getting even a new lore of magic. In any case, about the cavalry, we have the Illyrian Rivers that, I mean, as I said in multiple occasions, I think they are in the Bojack tier, because I don't recruit them. I play defensively, and then when I get access to the Silver Helms, I start to recruit them. But the Illyrian Rivers, I mean, they're just very, very weak, and they're not actually that different from the other. I mean, they are half the price almost, but they're not that different from the silver helms. But I just waited to recruit them because they have lesser armor, lesser melee capabilities, and so on. So let's talk about the silver helms. In this case, they are quite average cavalry. I mean, very fast with the more armor. They have the shield to protect from missile attack. The melee attack, melee defense, and weapon strength is yeah, average, we can say, for a cavalry. To compensate that, they have a great charge bonus. They are a shock cavalry, and yeah, overall they are better than the generic cavalry of the same level in the game. But yeah, they do their job, and honestly, probably I would put them something between the A and B tier, because they are good even in the late campaign. And probably you can get, I mean, you can make a very good use of them. Now let's talk about the Dragon Princes. That I mean, I don't know where to put them. Probably I should put them more here, but in my opinion, they are more B tier. I would put them into the C tier, but I don't want to, you know, the community to get angry with me. They are very armored. They have a lot of leadership. They have the physical resistance, fire resistance, plenty of charge bonus, 80, that is one of the highest in the game. The weapon strength is bigger, and the melee attack and melee defense, actually, they don't change from the, I mean, compared to the silver helms. Why I think they are not more than the B tier is because, I don't know, I think they just don't perform that well into the battlefield. They are a little slower compared, no, I mean, they're not slower, but I don't know, you have this feeling that they are too heavy, and when they are attacked by, they are very prioritized by the enemy, because I mean, they are the same level of a big monster, and at the same time they are very armored, so very hard to take down. But believe me, the damage itself, they are not even armor piercing, so they will not do plenty of damage. And when the enemy finds the right unit to counter attack, to counter fight them, it's just over. And as I say, they are so damnly expensive, and it's not something you cannot keep in mind, especially if you're playing with high difficulty and you have to, you know, take care of your budget. They are definitely, at least for me, not worth the price. Now let's talk about Khorne. We will talk about the cavalry, the Warriors of Chaos cavalry later. So now let's address only the Juggernauts of Khorne. So the Blood Crushers, that for me they are great because they are very armored. They don't have the shield, and I mean, you know, Blood Letters, they are not that resilient. They go down very easily sometimes. They have the physical resistance and the spell resistance, so I mean, like Khorne wants. The speed is not that great, but they are not slow neither. The melee attack is very huge, is at something around 40 with the magical damage, and the weapon strength is armor piercing, and with the anti-infantry bonus, the charge bonus is okay. So overall they are very great. I think I will put them into the, I don't know, I mean, quite in the middle. They can be, I mean, I like it very, I mean, because if you think that some of these cavalry are basically made to hit very hard heavy infantry, they're great. I mean, they're perfect at what they do. You just, you know, be a little careful, because they don't absorb damage very well. And then we get and they're demons, so of course you decide if it's a pro or a con. For me, it's definitely not a pro. And then we get the Skull Crushers of Khorne. In this case, they are the same speed, the same leadership, but more armor. They get the shield, better melee attack and melee defense, better charge, better weapon strength, and in this case they are anti-large. They were not at the beginning. It's something they introduced with the patch that I probably missed. And yeah, they're still armor piercing, and they get more charge bonus. Their frenzy ability, still the spell resistance, but no physical resistance, and yeah, they're not demons. Now I think, I mean, they're very, you know, very heavy cavalry, high charging, but yeah, I don't make a very great use of them. I mean, Khorne is all around charging, so they are not, for their price, their tier, they are not offering something that is that special. Yeah, I mean, if you think about what Khorne already does. So I think I will leave them into the B tier. Now let's talk about Kislev. I wonder if they will ever make another DLC. There was a rumor that they didn't want to make any more DLC for Kislev, but I don't know if it's true. Tell me in the comments what you think about, and we can start with the Kosovo dervishes. Even in this case, I just don't recruit them, not because they're bad, but because when you get access then to the winged lancers, they're just used. I mean, I just play defensively till I unlock the winged lancers, so I don't like them, and they don't offer anything that good. They're just very light, early game, early campaign cavalry for addressing missile, artillery, and so on. But when you get access to the winged lancers, these are these are a very great unit. They are not that expensive, and as you know, this is a factor that I really take into consideration. They have a big armor, more than decent, good leadership, but the speed is more than okay. I mean, it's high, more than the Empire. The melee attack and melee defense are definitely not big, and neither the weapon strength, but they have a lot of charge bonus, and they have also the glorious charge. If I remember correctly, that is we can say an additional bonus, so the time of the charge bonus is doubled, so you don't have to psycho charge that much. They're very, very great, and even in the late campaign you don't necessarily need to recruit the Griffon Legion because they are very, very great. And then, as I said, we get the Griffon Legion, that they do the same stuff. They're just more armored, more expensive, and with a better attribute, but less fast. I would still put them into the B tier because I mean, if you really have money to improve your cavalry, you can definitely recruit them. But yeah, between them and for the price, I probably prefer the winged lancers. And then at the end we get the war bear riders, that they sacrifice a little of armor compared to the Griffon Legion. They, of course, the speed is not that high because they are bears. The melee attack and melee defense in this case, they are higher, and the weapon strength, they are higher, but you have to consider that there are fewer entities. They are anti-large, ammo piercing with the charge bonus that is okay, but I will not rely on that. They are more, we can say, monster killers. That's why we'll put them into the Ratch category. They're very, very strong. I like to use them. Of course, they are expensive, but in this case it's definitely worth the price if you have to fight with monsters based factions and so on. And then I can say the model is amazing. I mean, looking at these white bears roaring and using their claws and so on, for me, just for the model, they should be into the Ratch tier. It's time for the Lizardmen. Even here I don't remember which is the generic version and the anti-large one, so we will say that this is the generic version of the Cold One riders, that are basically these lizards on the velociraptors, on the cold ones, that are these little fast dinosaurs. They are not that fast actually compared to the other cavalries. The armor is still more than okay, because I mean, or of their skin, I assume. The melee attack and melee defense is quite low, that I would not expect it from a dinosaur. The weapon strength is very high, and you have to consider that there are not very few, there are not few entities, they are still around 50, so it's great to get this high weapon strength with the ammo piercing damage. They don't have a lot of charge bonus, and when the leadership gets low, they will get some other bonuses. Overall, they are great. I will put them into the B category because they do their job, but it's a faction with a lot of dinosaurs that do the exact same thing, so probably, yeah, in any case, between the B and the A tier. Different is the case of the Cold One Spear Riders, because they sacrifice a little of melee attack and weapon strength to get the anti-large bonus. They are very, very strong against cavalry, and they are quite cheap for what they can do. They counterattack, I mean, most of the cavalry units in this game, and yeah, you can recruit them not that late in the campaign. That's why I will put them into the rush tier. And then we get the horned ones that are exactly here. Okay, in this case I think they are quite the same of the, you know, the Dread Knight of the Dark Elves. Like, they are very heavy, they have better stats in everything, but at the same time, for that price, probably the, you know, the cold one with spears are more than enough. If you want more tankiness, you can take more dinosaurs, some Bastiladons, but this one, I just think they're not worthy the price. Of course, keep in mind that I'm more a defensive player, so even with the Lizardmen, I just don't recruit many of them, but I think the B tier is good anyway. And then at the end we get the Reproductive Riders. That is a flying cavalry. There are very few entities, just 10 or 12, I think. Not that much armor. The speed is great because they are flying units, but not that high like other flying cavalry. The melee attack and melee defense. The melee attack, I remember, is very high, and the weapon strength is more than 100 with armor piercing damage and anti-infantry damage. And the charge bonus, that is okay, some missile resistance, the frenzy attribute that improves some stats when the leadership is high, and yeah, I like them. I don't recruit many of them because they are very few entities, and that's why probably I will put them into the C tier. I mean, on the cards are good, but probably if you don't need air power because you are fighting against another faction with a lot of flying units, I will probably just miss them. I mean, I would not recruit them, I want to say. Now let's talk about Nurgle, and let's start with the Pox Riders of Nurgle, that I don't know if they are supposed to be cavalry, but at the end they are, you know, soldiers over beasts, so we can say they are cavalry. These beasts are not that slow as you can expect. I mean, they're quite fast. They are the same speed of other units. Now I don't remember which one, but believe me, they're definitely not bad. They don't have an excellent armor. The melee attack and melee defense are higher than the generic cavalry, with the magical attack, poison effect, the weapon strength with anti-infantry bonus and armor piercing damage. There are not many entities, but still enough. The charge bonus is definitely not good, because you may think that some big bullfrogs may have a good charge. No, they don't have. And then they have an ability that reduce, if I remember correctly, the melee defense of the enemies. And then they get some physical resistance. Now, overall, they are not bad. When you, in the early campaign, you need some, you know, cavalry to address the enemy infantry and so on. They are definitely great. And I think they deserve the B tier, even because, you know, Nurgle is not very well known for fast units, so at the end they do their job quite correctly, and they are very stubborn. The plug drones of Nurgle, that are these flying flies, that they get definitely better in one of the last patches. I talk about this with many of you in the comment section of other videos. I mean, 1 year ago they were terrible, but now they are more than decent. I mean, they don't fall that easily, and yeah, they are more sturdy, resilient. I mean, like Nurgle is supposed to be. Still very few entities, just 12, but I mean, they're flying, they have the magical damage, the poison effect, the armor piercing damage. So overall I think it's very good, but still C tier for me, because in the perfect Nurgle army, if I have to suggest to give my advices to another player, I would not recruit them. I mean, just for fun, if you want to have fun, but if you want to take the most from your army, probably they're not the best option. And then we get Rot Knights. The Rot Knights are the best cavalry in this game, no matter what. They are monster hunters, but they are very great even against cavalry. They have plenty of armor. they have the speed, sorry my voice, the melee attack and especially the melee defense are very high with the poison effect and ammo piercing, anti-large, some I mean a charge bonus quite decent, and then they get guess what, their regeneration, because like if it was they were not enough good, so they are even very resilient, and yeah, they're very hard to take down. If you are playing against them, you will see, and they're definitely worthy the price, even if they are one of the most expensive, probably yeah, the second most expensive cavalry in this game. Now let's talk about the Ogre Kingdoms. Honestly, I'm a little sorry that they have been a little generic with the cavalry. I mean, probably in the tabletop was the same, but getting, you know, both the version with the Iron Fist and the great weapons for the Mournfang cavalry and for the Crushers, for me it's a little boring. I mean, I want these units to be unique when they are, I mean, they're quite the same. The Crushers are just the upgrade of the Mournfang cavalry, and this is not that good for me. In any case, they are great. I mean, they are these huge monsters, only very few entities, but very armored. The Iron Fist version, they got this little shield, and yeah, the weapon strength is ammo piercing with more than 100 of points. The charge bonus is huge, and they can break walls. That's why they deserve at least to be in the B tier. And then we get the version with the great weapons that probably is more A tier, because the monsters hunters, they always deserve a tier more. In any case, they are very great. The shields, in any case, they sacrificed the shield, but the shield was not that worthy because it was very little. The melee attack and melee defense is not that great, but believe me, you will not perceive that in the battlefield. And then there are the Crushers that, as I said, they are just the direct upgrade, so nothing changed that much. They're just better at the job. That's why we can put them into the A tier and into the rush tier for the one with the great weapons, because I mean, believe me, they are some of the best anti-large units of this game. They are very scaring, and there is almost no way to hit them. Now let's talk about Slaanesh, that has one of the, I think, the best cavalry department of the game, and we are even getting the Pleasure Seekers in the next DLC. In any case, let's start with the Hellstrider of Slaanesh. This cavalry is very not armored, but they have the shields at least to protect from missile attacks. The speed is huge, is one of the highest in the game with 100. The melee attack and melee defense are very low, but they have the poison effect to reduce, so in this case, the speed of the stats of the enemy. The weapon strength has the anti-large bonus, and the charge bonus is quite okay. Then they basically get this the Strider that is very helpful for a cavalry. I already said for the Centaurs, they can move around the map everywhere, and they will not suffer penalties. And then they are immune to psychology with a little of physical resistance, but with a little, I mean just 5. And with each kill made, they increase some attributes. So overall, very okay. As a cheap anti-cavalry units, they are very strong. That's why for me we can put them into the A tier, even if they lack armor. But if they have to fight against other cavalry, just who cares. Then we get the Hellstrider of Slaanesh with Hell Scourges, that are the whips. In this case, they are not anti-large, but they get they still have the poison, but they get more weapon strength and more melee defense, even more melee attack, but especially the melee defense. And this is great if you want to make some, hammer and anvil tactics. They may be great, they can serve as infantry, but still, at this point I will put them into the C tier, because I don't need a cavalry to do that. Then we get the Seekers of Slaanesh, that are the demonettes on the Seekers, that in this case they have even less armor and even lack the shield, so they are very sorry, they're very weak and vulnerable. The speed is still 100 by default. The melee attack and melee defense are far greater with the magical damage and poison effect. The weapon strength is armor piercing. The charge bonus is still not that exceptional, and they get the devastating flankers, the strider, a little more of physical resistance, the vanguard deployment. Overall, they are very good. I mean, they're just very weak. That's why I cannot put them into the A tier. And then we get the Heart Seekers of Slaanesh that are the improved version. You know, they have a little more of armor. I mean, the same of the Hell Strider. But yeah, the speed is the same, and they still have the magical damage, the poison effect, armor piercing damage, and so on. So yeah, I think we can put them just because they are better. And I mean, believe me, they are very high tier cavalry. There are not many units in the game that they can, you know, they are damage dealer. Okay, compared to other cavalry that are just shock and so on, they are very damage dealer overall, you know, in the prolonged combat, or if you want to charge and so on. That's why I think they deserve to be at least in the A tier. Now let's address the Tomb Kings, that even them, they have some cavalry. First, the Skeleton Horsemen, that are the generic units, and you know, same rule as always, just Bojack tier. They are very weak. They start, you know, to cause damage to themselves when the leadership is low. And believe me, if you attack an enemy from the back and the enemy just send one unit against them, they will start to lose a lot of leadership, a lot of units, and then they will die in a matter of minutes. And yeah, not very armored. They don't have a good charge bonus. They cause fear for some reasons, because they're skeletons, but for me they are Bojack tier. And then we get the Nekara Horsemen, that are the upgraded version. In this case, they don't have the vanguard deployment, but everything else except the charge bonus is better. Still C tier for me. I mean, I think that this kind of skeleton cavalry is a little useless. I mean, it may be helpful if you want to attack cavalry, missile and so on, but yeah, you can just take the vultures of the Tomb Kings to do the same job, and probably better. That's why I don't recruit them. And yeah, they will lose the fight against any other cavalry in the game. And then we get the Necropolis Knight, that in this case they are the monstrous cavalry of the Tomb Kings. There is one version with the shield, that they will be more protected by missile attacks. With the speed, of course, compared to the cavalry is far less, but they are more sturdy because they are construct, and they can have some benefits from the Necrotect. The melee attack and melee defense is far better. The weapon strength is higher with armor piercing, but the entities are fewer, and the charge bonus is a little better, but they are still no shock cavalry at all. That's why we will put them into the B tier. And then there is the version with great weapons, with halberds, that they sacrifice many. I forgot to say that they have the poison effect. In any case, they sacrifice the weapons, the melee attack, melee defense, and charge bonus to get the anti-large bonus. So they are very good to deal with cavalry. I will put them into the A tier because compared to other monsters or anti-cavalry, anti-cavalry hunters, monster hunters and anti-cavalry units, they still lack something. Okay, they are not that fast and so on. So I think that the A tier is more than correct. With the Tzeentch, we have the Centicore of Tzeentch, that I was waiting for them to put them into the Rush tier. I very like them. First, they have they are the Centicores, like the Centicores with great weapons that we talk about at the beginning of the video, but they get first this ability that increase their stats with all the spells cast by your wizards. They're still with the Woodsman attribute. They get the perfect vigor and the more speed, and others the immunity to psychology and so on when they are when they have more than half of leadership. And then they have the barrier, the magical attack, and it fits very well the Tzeentch roster. You have to be a little careful about them, because when you lose the barrier, the magical shield, then they are they're very, very vulnerable, but they are amazing for me, and I really would suggest you to try them with the Tzeentch, because yeah, with Tzeentch there is even the version for the Beastmen, but they're definitely great. And then we get the Doom Knights of Tzeentch, original cavalry from the game that got a reskin. Very, very unfortunately, because the model at the release of Total War Warhammer 3 was terrible. They're very, very strong. I mean, more than a cavalry, they're just a very, very fast infantry, but they have I mean, they have a good charge bonus. The weapon strength is high. There are not many entities, but enough. Melee attack and melee defense are very, very nice, because of course they are infantry. The speed, I mean, since they have these flying discs, they're very, very fast, very, very armored with shields. So yeah, very great for me, and they are the perfect bodyguard for your flying units that, as you know, with Tzeentch there are many of them, and I will put them into the S tier. Now let's talk about the vampire counts, and the first unit is the Black Knights. Even here they're just the skeleton, very generic. They cause fear. They have the Strider that, I mean, overall it's nice. I think that for the faction of the vampire counts, they deserve more than the Bojack treatment, so we'll put them into the C tier. They have a lot of armor. They have really a lot of armor, and the speed is not that great, but still fast. I mean, for the faction itself, melee attack, melee defense, and the weapon strength are high. Okay, they're not low as you may think from these dark skeletons. They're good, and they get even the anti-infantry bonus. You know what? I think that they are more a B tier than the C tier, so we will put them here. We'll just have problem with the view, but yeah, definitely they deserve it. And then there is the version with the lances and the barding. That is not just the shock cavalry version. They get definitely more armor. In this case, they're very, very armored for being skeletons. The speed is a little reduced, but they get more charge bonus. And even them, I would put them into the B category. They are very, very nice at what they do. And probably you don't need to recruit the Blood Knight. Then we get the X rates that, I mean, they are very, very nice. They, for me, are at least A tier. They have no armor, but at least they have some physical resistance. They have the Strider. They cause terror. They have the Vanguard deployment. As I say, no armor at all. A lot of speed compared to the skeleton. Horsemen. The melee attack and melee defense are nice with flaming effect, magical damage, frostbite that reduce the speed of the enemy, and they get not that much charge bonus, but they get the ammo piercing weapon strength. Now, believe me, if you want to attack cavalry, other even some characters, monsters, they have a lot of ammo piercing damage, so they hit very, very hard. That's why I have to put them into the A tier. I would not put them into the Ratch tier just because they, I mean, zero armor. Are you serious? And then we get the Blood Knights that are one of the most elite and most expensive cavalry in this game. Even in this case, there are the two versions, one more shock and one less shock and more melee. They have both the hunger, so their life points will be replenished when they are in melee. They have the frenzy, they have some missile resistance, they cause fear. So both of them, I think they are into the A tier. I mean, I have to admit them, they are very, very strong, probably even too much strong, but they are expensive also. But with the hunger, they definitely conquered, and with the frenzy too, they conquered me. Now let's talk about the Warriors of Chaos and all the Monogods version that you were probably waiting for. First, let's take the generic Chaos Knights. Now, at the level of the game right now, as I said, with all the Monogods version, I just think, and with the fact that you can just change it to the Monogods version with not such a big effort, financial and of time. That's why we'll put them into the Bojack tier, because I never use them. The same as the Chaos Knight with lances, so they get less melee defense but more charge bonus. And now we will talk about the Monogods version that honestly I didn't put both the normal and the Lances one because I would have been too much repetitive, and I don't like that much to be repetitive. Let's start with the one of Slaanesh. For me, the Chaos Knights of Slaanesh, they are one of the greatest cavalry of this game because they have all the good pros of the Chaos Knights, of the generic Chaos Knights, but they get more speed, that is always nice, with the Strider ability. I told you is such an important attribute for the cavalry because they are very heavy, okay, so they can move all around the map without caring about getting turret. They get the immunity to psychology and then the devastating flanker. So when they attack the enemy on the flank, on the back, and this is what a cavalry is supposed to do, the bonus will be enhanced. And with all the things that I said, I will definitely put them into the rush S tier. Then there is the Chaos Knight of Khorne that they got the frenzy, some more spell resistance, but some spell resistance. They have a little more armor and lesser melee defense, the flaming attack, and yeah, I mean compared to what Khorne can offer, I think they are just probably even C tier. Like, yeah, I don't think they are necessary at all. Then we get the version of Tzeentch that it may be nice, especially if you don't have the other Tzeentch DLC, so they will be the only armored units of your army. But yeah, probably okay. The B tier, it's okay, so we can leave them here. And then there is the Nurgle version that I mean, I'm not that much excited about. But I mean, it can happen. In any case, they get less melee defense and more melee attack, but the poison effect. So I think, yeah, we can put them into still the B tier. And to conclude, we get the Wood Elves with 3 units, the Glade Riders with the spears, because they receive the version with the bows that are horsemen, okay, because the other Wood Elves, they get the deers. They are very, very fast. They have no armor, almost no armor, with a little shield. The melee attack, melee defense, weapon strength, very, very low. The charge bonus, I mean, average. They have the woodsman at least, so they can move around the forest with no penalties. And yeah, overall they are not that great, and I never recruit them, so Bojack horsemen. And then we get the Wild Riders. There is the version with and the version without the shield. We are gonna talk about the one with the shield. They will be more protected. In this case, it's a bigger shield, so better protected from missile attack. The speed is a little less, but nothing that you should worry. Melee attack and melee defense, quite the same. Weapon strength at least bigger, and more charge bonus. Then some physical resistance, the woodsman attribute, the frenzy. So overall, they are quite strong. That's why we will put them into the B tier. And then we get the Great Stag Knights. This unit is insane because they are big, very big, bigger deers that they are mounted by these Wood Elves. They have they have a good armor compared to the other Wood Elves units. The speed is still 90. The melee attack and melee defense and the charge bonus with weapon strength damage, they are okay. And the charge bonus is also very, very huge. They keep the frenzy, the vanguard deployment, the woodsman attribute, and the physical resistance. So overall, they are very nice. They can charge very well the enemy. So we will put them into the A tier. Thank you for following me. I have no voice anymore, and see you very, very soon.